Hello everyone and welcome to my Season 10 Death Trap build guide. My name is Avarlin and this guide will take you through all of the Season 10 changes for our favorite endgame powerhouse. I also have a full written guide over at maxroll.gg. You can find a link to it in the description below. The main change for Death Trap in Season 10 is the energy restoration mechanics. The passive Aftermath was reduced to only restoring 35 energy, and the temper option that restored energy after casting an ultimate was also reduced from 45 baseline down to 18. This can be overcome through the new Chaos power, A Beast Cornered, which restores energy based on resource spent. However, the result of this is that Death Trap is now extremely gear dependent and requires specific setups for the different gearing stages you're in. Therefore, this guide will focus on the variants themselves and explain what you need in order to transition to the later stages of this build. The starter variant uses Flurry to reset your Death Trap through various means. You can reset it relatively fast by attacking a trap target for exposure procs, but also by spending energy to trigger preparation. This variant focuses on hitting as many targets as possible with Flurry for exposure procs by utilizing the Encircling Blades aspect and Flurry size tempers. This allows you to teleport all over the map and quickly reset your Death Trap. Energy should not be a problem as you can run the Galvanized Slashers aspect, which now triggers from Flurry because it is a mobility skill, the Innervation passive, and a Jack's Low Maroon Word to stay topped off. You want Death Trap to have as low cooldown as possible, which means you opt into using cooldown reduction on Helmet, Amulet, Tempers on Jewelry, as well as the Zek rune. To ensure that the target is considered trapped as frequently as possible for exposure to get triggered, we use the explosive Verve aspect in combinations with the stun grenade spawned by the various aspects, through smoke grenade and caltrops. Unfortunately, this can feel a bit clunky at times, but it is a requirement to reset the Death Trap as fast as possible. Your rotation is mostly dashing around the map and casting Flurry to reach your enemy, then dropping caltrops and smoke grenades for the damage bonus, then casting Concealment for the 100% crit chance and vulnerable application, and then finally Death Trap. Once Death Trap is cast and it is on cooldown, you spam Flurry to reset Death Trap as soon as possible while maintaining caltrops and smoke grenade on the target. The Ancestral variant includes items that allow Death Trap to be spammed without using Flurry. The unique item Scoundrel's Leathers turn Death Trap into a core skill, which enables us to use the unique item Beastfall Boots. We can now use things like core ranks on gloves to get a much lower cooldown on Death Trap. Before swapping to the Ancestral variant, you therefore need the unique items Beastfall Boots, Eyes in the Dark, and Scoundrel's Leathers. You need Ultimate Cooldown Reduction GA with ideally 2 Masterwork crits or higher on Beastfall Boots. You need a Helmet with Cooldown Reduction, 1 piece of jewelry with a minimum of 31.36 energy restored, which means 2 crits on a high roll. You need gloves with core ranks GA with as many Masterwork crits as possible, the Vex rune to get more ranks of Death Trap. You also need high rolls on Death Trap cooldown reduction, or you can Masterwork crit them to compensate at a cost of a bit of damage. The reason we need 31.36 energy is because of Beastfall Boots. With Beastfall Boots equipped, we need to find a way to restore 150 energy each Death Trap cast in order to reset the cooldown through preparation. Baseline with this setup, we get 25 energy from the unique effects on Beastfall Boots, 35 energy from the redesigned Aftermath passive, and then 45 from the Chaos power A Beast Cornered. With roughly 10% resource generation from strength, this means we get roughly 115 energy each time we cast Death Trap. In other words, we need about 31 energy after factoring resource generation to reach our goal of 150, which means critting the Temper ultimate skills Restore plus 18 energy 2 times and masterworking it all the way to 12 to get enough energy. This situation is not ideal, but is currently one of the few ways to reach the spam state without including mythic items. The actual gameplay of this variant is what we are used to in Season 9 and before. You can now hold down Death Trap permanently and reset it without worrying. We opt into using the buff trifecta of Poison Trap, Caltrops, and Smoke Grenade to boost our damage, and Concealment to give us 100% crit chance and vulnerable application. We also change our key passive from Exposure to Momentum, as Exposure frequently falls off when enemies dies too quickly. We stack this primarily by casting Dash between Death Traps. Enemies also become permanently frozen now from the Frostbitten aspect due to the stun grenade spawned from the Trickster's aspect. Finally, the Mythic variant of Death Trap focuses on optimizing your damage even further by implementing the new Season 10 items called Chaos Uniques, as well as the Mythic items. For this build, the main Chaos items you're looking for are Banished Lord's Talisman, Beastfall Boots, and Scoundrel's Leathers. The last two does not have a massive impact on your damage due to their unique effect being relatively weak. But the Banished Lord Talisman is a big quality of life, as this item has the much readed core ranks on it, and it also causes every other death trap to overpower for more damage. Getting this as a helmet or glove option allows you to get more core ranks, which means you can pair it with Air Perdition or Legendary Gloves with GA core ranks to get 20 plus ranks of death trap to reduce its cooldown. Just like the Ancestral version, you need one ring with at least 31.36 energy restored to get 150 energy per death trap cost. However, if you do happen to loot Harlequin's Crest before Air Perdition, you can swap one death trap temper on your jewelry for energy restore to reach this breakpoint easier at a cost of a bit of damage. Outside of gearing changes, this build is basically identical to the Ancestral version. We use the buff trifecta of Poison Trap, Caltrops, and Smoke Grenade to boost our damage, and Concealment to give us permanent 100% crit and vulnerable application. For general farming, we keep Momentum as a key passive, but if you want to maximize your damage potential in high pit runs, I recommend changing to Exposure. To make this build incredibly comfortable to play, the Nair rune is included in the Mythic variant to make you cast Concealment with both its upgrades automatically. You can drop this for more damage options like Thol rune, Zan, and others if you would rather spam Concealment. The same goes for Mott rune. You can change this for other damage options if you prefer to cast Dark Shroud manually yourself. However, if you want to cast both of these manually, you will have to give up something like Poison Trap because you do not have enough skill slots. We also cannot use Quack's Rune this season, as this consumes the energy you gain and renders this build completely unplayable. A full list of all skills, Paragon points, and aspect can be found, like always, in the written guide over at maxroll.gg, and it will be the most up-to-date version of this build. The rest of this guide shows gameplay footage from this Season 10 PTR. I hope this guide has helped you understand how to build Death Trap in Season 10, though. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, hit me up on the Maxroll community Discord or in the comment section below. Bye bye.